Come on, Dad, let's get this in my car. Guys, we just bought this tank from someone who said he didn't want it anymore. And apparently there's a live turtle inside, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, we gotta get this thing home quickly.
Yeah. Wait. Stop. I think I just saw something in there. Wait, do you see that?
And after taking a closer look, you can see the turtle was right there, chilling under a piece of wood. So we took off the lid to get it out.
Yeah, look, the turtle's in here. Wait, should we take it out until we get home?
Well, we don't have a place to put it. Well, we might as well just keep it in there.
I guess so. I mean, we're not super far from home. He looks all right. Let me just put him back in here. There you go, buddy. I'll just cover you back up.
After we got it home, I searched around for a second until I found the turtle again, which looked like it was still in good health. So I took it out to get a closer look.
What species is this? I don't think I've ever seen this. It has like orange on it. Hold on, I guess let me just put this into my temporary tank. I have an idea of how to figure out what species this is.
So I opened up an AI app on my phone to take a picture of the turtle and ask what species it thought it was. And it came back as a Central American wood turtle, and even gave me some facts about it. But at the very bottom, it said that it had the special ability to stomp on the ground to make worms rise to the surface.
Wait, that is actually so cool. I'm gonna 100% test that later in this video. And look, it says it wants 50% water, 50% land for its setup. So I guess that's what I'm gonna be turning this thing into.
Now, of course, I had to drain the dirty water out of it and take out all the trash decorations and sand from the previous owner.
All right, this is much better. And now to start, I'm gonna put in this big rock background.
You see, the previous owner did give me these for free, saying they would fit perfectly, and he was right, because as you can see, I was able to wrap them around all sides of the enclosure, and they fit perfectly, so I spray foamed them all into place.
And now, continuing with the rock theme, I'm gonna take some of these rocks and lay them down across the entire enclosure, which will basically separate the land and water areas in here.
Since the water is going to be on the side closest to the front, we want to get some spray foam and block up all the little holes and gaps along the rocks, and before it's able to dry, I covered it in some smaller rocks and pebbles to hide the exposed foam.
And since this tank is integrating water with land, the best way to symbolize that is to build a working waterfall, which I think I'm gonna do right here.
Yep, you heard that right. So I started stacking rocks along this corner here because this is gonna be the hill where the waterfall will flow from.
Now you might expect to make the waterfall work, it'll be complex, but all you need in reality is this little water pump thing.
Basically, you just put that pump in the back corner and surround the extra space around it with some filter floss, which will make the waterfall also turn into a filter to keep the water clean. Then I lined some tubing from the pump up along the side of the hill, that way it was barely poking out the top of the rocks. Now you see, I actually did try to do a waterfall in a video about a year ago, and let's just say it didn't go so well at first. Hopefully that doesn't happen here.
Well, I really hope I set up the pump in here correctly, so let's fill it up with water so we can test the waterfall.
So I did that, plugged in the pump, and waited for it to start.
Why is nothing happening? It should be going. Is it broken? Oh, it just went for a second. Wait, what? Oh, it's going again. Okay. Well, I mean, it's working. It's getting the water from the bottom to the top. So, yeah. It's kind of just splattering water all over me, though. I gotta turn this off.
Thankfully, I was able to change a setting on the pump to make it less extreme, which made it a lot more calm and into a beautiful flowing waterfall. So finally, I glued a little bit of rocks along the top of the pump to hide it and drained out the dirty water.
Well, thankfully, I got the waterfall working. So now it's time to finish up the floor and decorations in here.
First of all, I wanted to fill the land section with these clay leca balls. You see, the two sections are mostly separated by rocks, but just in case a little water leaks through, this leca should absorb it, keeping the land nice and dry. Next, I cut out some window screen matching the exact dimensions of the land, and then put the dirt substrate on top of it.
But this land area is looking pretty boring, so let's get the basics like some small rocks and wood inside. Then let's put in some of this fern moss to add some color. And this is a live moss I've never used before, and apparently when you spray it, it actually just starts growing really fast. So in just a matter of a couple days, the entire enclosure should be taken over by the moss. It should look pretty cool.
And finally, I put a ton of these branches on the wall to fill in the empty spots at the top of the enclosure.
All right, well, the land area is now all complete, and my favorite part is this little area I made under the waterfall. As you can see, it's nice and cozy in there, and the turtles will be able to set up camp in there. And now it's time for the water area, which is a little simpler because we just got to pour in sand, basically.
And after getting a ton of that in, I put some gravel up against the edge of the rock, so it faded that rock texture into the sand texture.
And finally, we can't forget more rocks, baby. Yeah, pretty much this entire riverbed is just made up of sand and rocks. Pretty simple.
Alright, the base of the tank is now complete, and after filling it with water, it looked even better, with of course the beautiful waterfall now flowing. But if you're an avid TerraGreener, you already know what the next step is. Let's get some plants, baby. First of all, I went to Walmart, of course, which thankfully had just restocked their land plant section, so I could get some good deals on those. But I also needed aquatic plants, which I could only get at the pet stores, so I bought a few of those as well. After getting home, I got out all the plants and put some of them along the land section. It was mostly just some small plants to add some greenery, but in the water portion, I put in all the water plants, which definitely brought the whole thing to life a little bit more.
And now the final step to finishing this enclosure is the cleanup crew. And you'll see what I mean by that in a second, but let's go to Petco. Okay, now first of all, we need to get something that's gonna eat up any algae that grows in the water. And in this tank here, you can see there's some aquatic nerite snails. Yeah, those little things there. Let me get them in a bag.
And after getting those snails bagged up, I of course had to buy a couple containers of springtails, which I could put on the land and would eat any mold that grows in that moist dirt in the enclosure.
Oh yes, I'm happy they had these in stock. Let's buy these too.
When I got home, I first let the little springtails loose and they all scurried around in their own directions and took cover amongst all the dirt and leaves.
But oh, now it's time for the snails. Let's just put these guys in, and there we go.
Now the reason I chose this species of nerite snails is because they can't actually have babies in fresh water. You see, a big problem with most snail species is they'll have like a million babies, which causes the whole tank to get overrun. So thankfully with these guys, that's not gonna happen. To finish off the tank, I put in a water heater, a water oxygenator, and some heat and UV bulbs at the top so the right parameters would all be met.
And of course, the waterfall I built in the back should mostly filter the water, but just in case it gets too dirty, I've also got this tiny little filter.
Well, this place is now 100% complete and definitely is a big improvement from the trash I bought it as. And I'd say the enclosure is ready for the turtle. Let's get it in.
Oh, buddy, I got a big surprise for you. I know I've kept you in this temporary tank for a day, boy, but it was worth it because look at what I just built for you. Here you go, boy. Welcome to your new home.
Right away, the turtle climbed up onto the land to take a second to admire his new home. Then he jumped in the water and swam right up to a snail to try and start eating it, which wasn't possible, of course, because of the shell, so he kind of gave up.
Well, dang, clearly this guy's hungry, and I already know he has some crazy hunting tactics for worms. So let's go and test a bunch of different foods to see which he likes the most.
First of all, little turtle pellets. These are the normal food you feed your turtle, nothing crazy, but they provide some alright nutrients. Right away, he picked up the scent and ate one of them, then he continued to eat a bunch more. In fact, he was loving it so much that I even tried to do some tricks with him by dropping a pellet into his mouth, and yeah, he doesn't really have a good reaction time.
Okay, yeah, he definitely likes those, but next up, I've got a little cricket doused in calcium powder, which I'm just gonna go and put on the land. You gonna walk out? There you go.
You see, the calcium powder on this cricket not only makes it stand out more, but it also provides the nutrients to keep the turtle shelled nice and strong. Now, at first, it was just crawling around the land, so I knocked it in the water where the turtle, then it ate it. I didn't even get to capture the strike on camera since it was so fast, but yeah, you can see he thoroughly enjoyed it and even ate some scraps off the floor.
Okay, this guy likes to get his protein in. I like that, but he also has to get his fruits and veggies, or I guess just veggies, but I'm gonna try and feed him this carrot. Let's see what happens.
So I waved it in front of him for a second until he gave it a bit of interest underwater. He went up to it and bit it a couple times, but each time he bit it, he would just end up letting go. I guess his bite wasn't strong enough to cut off the carrot, so I cut a little piece off myself and put it in front of him. He then bit it, gave it a little taste, and ultimately just spat it back out. He's just like me, leaving his vegetables on the plate as he swam away.
Alright, now let's do some worms. And before I touch that thing with the dirt, let's just warm the turtle up to worms by feeding him some of these bloodworms.
Now you may already know this, but bloodworms come in these little packets and are frozen. But when they're put in water, they start to thaw out and scatter worms all over the place. So I waved them around in front of him like everything else, and immediately he snapped at it and basically ate them whole. Out of everything I had fed him so far, it seemed like he was enjoying this the most. So it was time to upgrade them with some giant nightcrawler worms now. You see, what I did was let a few go down into the dirt on the land area to hide in there. Then I got another worm and waved it around in front of the turtle to convince him to come up to the surface. Once he was there, I waited hoping he would do something, but he kind of just stood there, not stomping on the floor to convince the worms to come up. I even waved a worm in front of his head, and when he didn't show any interest, I put a whole pile of worms in front of him, which he still didn't care about. I guess for some reason he's only hungry in the water, so after he jumped back in, I waved a worm in front of him again, and literally instantly, yeah, he grabbed it and for like 3 minutes battled with it to eat the whole thing up. It was pretty funny to watch, actually. You see, normally these wood turtles are supposed to do this: stomp on the ground, which simulates raindrops, which for some reason causes the worms to surface. surface. And when they do, the turtle gets a nice tasty meal.
But I guess my guy's a little bit lazy and he doesn't want to do that. But that's okay because he's cute. Who's your good boy? Who's your good boy? You don't have to be scared of me.
Well, anyways, it was fun transforming the enclosure from what it was to this, which I think turned out really good.
Also, a week ago, I asked you guys which hoodie design you liked the most. And you guys overwhelmingly voted for the blue axolotl design, so we made that. This thing is now available on my store, and I think the design turned out so cool. It's super cute axolotl. There's even a little leech up here for my leech video. I love it. Visit the top link in the description, and I know some of you guys watch on TV, so you can scan that QR code. Yeah, pause the video. You can scan that. Okay, anyways, thanks for watching. Goodbye. See you later. Goodbye.